The Koalition.
This week. Mr. Lugo, how about you basically give us a wrap up of what you saw or what we all saw on this week's Direct?
Yeah, sure, no problem. There was a couple neat little nuggets of reveals and good stuff that was in the mini Direct. One of the things that I said, and I told you before we started recording this, was that I'm not a fan of them having the Directs be put out and without an announcement or without any sort of like setup prior to it. I think it's cool because it gives a little shock and it gets people on their toes, and that's fine and dandy. But I felt like there would have been more eyes on it if they would have just, again, told everybody this is when it's going to go up at this time, and everybody would have paid attention to it, or at least would have checked it out. I'm just not a fan of that with that type of approach to putting out new content, especially announcements for upcoming games throughout the year. But regardless, though, the mini Direct went up. It was very short. It wasn't all that long compared to what we've gotten in the past with other Nintendo Directs. We've got some new games for the Nintendo Switch. It was mostly a Nintendo Switch-focused Direct that had a lot of games that are coming out this year that do have dates, or at least have release windows within the first half, I should say, of 2018, which is pretty cool. We got a couple ports from Wii U games that are coming over to the Nintendo Switch, which I think is great, including Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, which was Hyrule Warriors basically on the 3DS, or at least the Hyrule Warriors from the Wii U with all the extra DLC combines within and other additional content into one package, but now for the Nintendo Switch, which I think is great for people that love that series, that love that game. We have a review of it over on the Koalition now, both, I believe, of the Wii U version and of the 3DS version. I'm pretty sure at some point we'll check out the Nintendo Switch version once that comes out. In addition to that, okay, we have Mario Tennis Aces, which is another Mario Tennis game. What makes this one special is I believe it's from the Game Boy Advance version, I believe, or one of the previous Mario Tennis games that was on the portables. It had a story to it, and this is what really, being the first real Mario Tennis game, or at least the next big Mario Tennis game that does kind of like some of that influence for it's a package. Because if you remember, I believe it was the last Mario Tennis game didn't really have a lot of stuff. It was more focused on gameplay. It didn't really have any sort of story or other campaign type of modes or like Pro Tour or something. But this one is going to have that. And it's going to have other content. It's going to have additional stuff. I believe it's some of the special moves and things like that make Mario Tennis so interesting and so unique compared to like older versions of that game now. They're going to have all that stuff, but it's going to be on Nintendo Switch, which is pretty cool. In addition to this, the big announcement that they had revealed finally officially, even though we knew about this for a while because we heard about From Software having the game running on Nintendo Switch, Dark Souls Remastered. Now, this is cool because, number one, it's Dark Souls, and a lot of people that love that series are going to be able to play this on the go. It's going to be the first kind of quote-unquote portable version of this series, if you really think about it, even though it's on the Nintendo Switch and that's like a hybrid console. But being able to have the ability to play Dark Souls game on the go, especially when you travel, it's going to have a lot of appeal to people, especially if you've been a fan of the Souls series for quite some time, or if you love Bloodborne and stuff like that. Who knows? That could also lead to other games in the series getting remastered as well, being brought to Nintendo Switch, especially if this is successful. I could totally see them bringing Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 to the Nintendo Switch after this. There may be some technical know-how or technical finesse there probably might have to do, because obviously those games are very intensive on both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. But I think that if given the time and given the effort and given the resource, I think they could find some compromises to bring those games over to the system. But we're going to get Dark Souls 1 Remastered. It's going to have all the previous DLC, all the previous additional content, which is pretty awesome. And it's going to be something that a lot of fans are going to love. Now, besides this, some of the other new stuff, which I thought was interesting and kind of random, comes from SNK Heroines, which is a new fighting game. It's based on female fighters from the King of Fighters series. If you guys remember, King of Fighters 14 came out not too long ago. We have a review up on the website now that you guys could check out. But some of the heroines, the female fighters from King of Fighters, are going to be taking center stage in this game, and it's going to be from what looks to be a pretty legit fighting game that's going to be mostly focused on them. Very similar to I can't remember the name of the fighting game, but it was on PlayStation 4. I think it was like Buster Girls or something, where it takes a very similar approach, but it has a very intensive, high-paced, crazy action type of fighting system to it, for a fighting game, granted. And I think this is going to be cool because this is going to be the second quote unquote traditional style fighting game for the Nintendo Switch. Remember, we have Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers now on the platform. And we also have Pokken Tournament, which is also another game I'll get to in a second. But this is going to be, Pokken Tournament wasn't necessarily a traditional fighter. It was a little bit much more unorthodox. It was different. It wasn't like a 2D fighter that what we've seen from the fighting genre constantly. This is going to be that case. And it's going to be focused on the SNK female fighters. So I'm curious about it. I'm curious to see how it plays. I'm really interested to see what other stuff it has along with it. The customization that they displayed there, being able to customize the fighters with different outfits and colors and stuff, is going to be very appealing to a lot of people, especially on the Nintendo Switch, where you could bring that console on the go. That's going to be pretty cool. Who knows? We might be able to see a game like that at EVO, and it'll be another Switch game to go to another big fighting game tournament. That'll be something interesting to see. Now, besides that, like I mentioned before, Pokken Tournament. Pokken Tournament is getting brand new content for Pokken Tournament DX, including new DLC fighters, new support Pokemon, as well as also extra options for your avatar. For me personally, one of my bigger picks for this that I thought was pretty cool was that we're going to get Blastoise as a playable character. And we also got a couple of the other, I believe it was from Pokemon X and Y or Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. One of the Pokemon there, I can't remember its name specifically. It's one of those like more obscure type of Pokemon that's brand new, but we're getting new fighters for it. It's brand new content. That's pretty much a welcome addition. And it's going to come in, I believe, in 2 battle packs that I know you could buy off the eShop. The first battle pack, I believe, comes in like, I believe in February or March. And then afterwards, the second one, which is the one with Blastoise, comes sometime after that. Again, dates notwithstanding, I could be wrong as far as the time frame with them. But again, new content, that's always a welcome addition. That's always pretty cool. We also got new content for Super Mario Odyssey. Okay, Super Mario Odyssey's got a free update that I think you could get now, if I'm not mistaken, that has the Luigi, balloon challenges. Basically, you could go to any map or any stage in that game and kind of meet up with Luigi and actually hide a balloon for other players online to find, so that you can make these little challenges for other people. And it has leaderboards. It's going to have rankings. It's a little extra compliment to an already great game. So that's pretty awesome. There was a couple other announcements too, as well as, as far as rundowns of like a few indie titles that they mentioned that they touched on. But really, those were some of the bigger announcements from this mini direct. Again, shorter direct, a little unorthodox, a little surprising, but it still had some good stuff overall. A lot of the things that people were expecting for this direct, we did not get. A lot of people from the GameStop leak, as well as also the way that Nintendo had been acting over the last, I want to say, month or so prior to the new year, people were expecting a Smash Brothers announcement. Obviously, we didn't get that. It also, there was some stuff that was going passed around by Nintendo about Chibi Robo. There was a picture of Chibi Robo on fire that people were saying that maybe that's an allusion to either new stuff with Chibi Robo or maybe Chibi Robo and Smash Brothers, different things like that. But obviously that wasn't the case. I feel like a lot of those types of announcements and a lot of announcements that we're going to get for other games, including Metroid Prime 4 and any of the other big titles we're waiting on from Nintendo, we're probably going to get that in a future direct that'll probably be a little bit more formal, a little bit more traditional, where they announce it to everybody. Or we might have to just wait till E3 to find out what bigger stuff is going to come to the platform. But there you go. That's the Nintendo Mini Direct in a nutshell.
I agree with that last statement you said, and that was a great recap of the mini direct. One thing I did want to say about the direct, I do know that there was quite a bit of people that I guess they was a little disappointed in this direct. As you already said, they're going to save the bigger announcements for a later time. So, I mean, and one thing that I learned last year, I doubted the Nintendo Switch last year. And then when they had that E3 show and they just blew everybody away with all the announcements they had, yeah, that pretty much shut me up for good. So I will not doubt them anymore. I'm just going to look forward to, obviously, we figured there were going to be a lot of ports coming to the Switch when they first announced it. So I don't have a problem with any of the stuff that got announced.
One thing I want to mention, though, that's important that I think we should acknowledge is that, one, I think that Nintendo's almost kind of done with the 3DS at this point. And also, the next direct that we get or the next wave of announcements outside of like Nintendo Switch stuff, I think we're also going to get some more stuff from their mobile division, including stuff on Animal Crossing. I still also feel like we're going to get some more stuff for Fire Emblem Heroes or on mobile, and any of the other games that they probably have plans in the pipeline for mobile devices to continue with that Nintendo mobile title type of train. I feel like that's going to be another compliment we'll hear more about in a future date.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know they've already announced a Pikachu detective game for 3DS. Because I got an email about that. So they still have a few things coming, but yeah, I think that they will slowly start to move away from the 3DS, and a lot of those titles will end up on the Switch. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I thought it was pretty fine direct. You know, like I said, I still haven't played Zelda. I still haven't finished Mario. So I really I'm not really looking to play anything else new right away for the Switch. I still have to finish all the other stuff that came out last year. So I definitely didn't have any complaints. And as I said, you know, I'm pretty sure there'll be bigger announcements as the year goes on. So I don't think anybody should be concerned about the Switch right now. But Gary and Dana, do you have any thoughts on the Direct?
So like, what do you guys think of the criticism that's going around about, you know, there's a lot of like remasters and old games being published on the Switch?
I think that's nonsense. That's nonsense. Right now, if the people that are saying that, it's only because they didn't get the announcements they wanted at the mini direct. I think that's a little bit of a lame, salty criticism, because right now there are games from the Nintendo Switch. That's why the system's doing so well. I mean, we've been critical of the Nintendo Switch in the past, especially at launch, because obviously that stuff wasn't out yet, and obviously there was a lot of unknowns. And I still think there are unknowns that are worth criticizing the platform for. Was it especially the online servers, which again, we're probably going to see more of that come down towards the summer, or at least after the spring is when I believe that stuff is going to go into effect. But right now, I mean, there is some remasters that are coming to the platform. There are some remasters out now on the platform, like including some indie games and a few other AAA games. But again, the system's doing very well, and it has a lot of games right now at this point that it could get people excited, that really showcase it. So I feel that's a lame criticism, a lame thing to complain about.
Yeah, absolutely. Dana, did you have any thoughts on the Direct?
Port City. That's all it was just a whole bunch of ports. And I wasn't knocking it. It was meh.
Well,
you know, it was just.
Well, here's the question though. What about the Mario Tennis game though?
For the people who like Mario Tennis, that's something that, you know, people are interested in. At most, maybe, you know, the Pokemon detective game, interesting. I know that they have the movie that's coming out in 2019, so it could be, you know, and I think that Pokemon fans will gravitate towards that. But overall, for me, it was just something that existed. I wasn't exactly thrilled. I don't have like this anger like people have, as you guys were saying. There's like this anger because there wasn't any new games announced, and I don't think that there really should be any coming up. You know, 28. You can't announce everything right now, and it's in January. You know what I mean? So that to me, I wasn't really surprised by that. It was meh.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, we'll see what happens. What Nintendo has in store for us as the year goes on. But overall, not bad. Not a bad show in my opinion. This is some stuff to look forward to. So, and as I already said, I haven't finished all the other Switch exclusives, so I really am in no rush to get another Switch game anytime soon anyway.